half a year since the last character. Hey there guys, this is Tyler here, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be going over the top 10 characters that I would personally like to see added in FNaF AR Special Delivery. Now, as the hook of the video implied, there has been no character added in FNaF AR since December 20th, 2020, which first off, yeah, there's been no character so far this year, and secondly, that was 6 months ago, aka half a goddamn year. So the usual disclaimers. This is purely my personal opinion, and most of the footage in this video isn't mine. As well, on top of that, the cutoff point is June 20th, 2021. So if a character on this list gets added into the game either before or after the video is uploaded, there's your explanation. Just timing reasons. On top of that, I'm only sticking to characters who have appeared in FNaF games created by Scott. So I'm not going to place in some original character I came up with like Illumix did with Frostbear. And that also means no Steelwool invented characters due to Steelwool and Illumix having no relation legal-wise. So no Glitch Trap, Dreadbear, any of the Glamrocks, etc. Also, if you're new around here, be sure to subscribe down below and turn on the notification bell. Totally optional, but it would be appreciated if you did. And without further ado, let's get straight into the list. Number 10, Funtime Foxy. So spoiler warning, some of these picks, especially 8 to 10, their main purpose for being on the list is to finish off an animatronic counterpart that is close to being finished adding in the game, which in this case is the Funtime gang. So Funtime Foxy, another reason I kind of want him in the game is that honestly, he's a really good character in the FNaF games in general. He has a great voice which can return in the game with maybe some new voice lines, and maybe the Showtime mechanic from UCN could be a unique mechanic in AR. Maybe when he says the Showtimes are on the hour line, he can be doing a haywire attack, but instead of using a mask or looking away, you actually have to find him and stare at him, and therefore, it's somewhat like a Showtime. I don't know. As well, if Illumix brought back the tip emails, maybe Illumix can pull Scott and use both male and female pronouns in the email. That'd still be hilarious, even if the fandom consensus nowadays is that Funtime Foxy is a male due to his voice. Just, there are admittedly some limited opportunities you can do with him as compared to other characters on this list, so that's a huge reason why he's only at number 10. And one more thing about him, how cool would it be that in both gameplay and in the workshop, he had a megaphone? I would freaking love that. But I guess let's just go to number 9. Number 9, Molten Freddy. Now this sucker's on the list for mostly the same reason as Funtime Foxy, just to finish off the salvaged animatronics in the game. But there's still some unique things that can be done with Molten Freddy. Again, new voice lines perhaps. As well, what if you were able to apply the salvage portions from FNaF 6 into this, and it's a combination of that and the usual FNaF AR gameplay. Like, you play the Paragraph 4 tapes, and then while that's going, Molten Freddy is sort of like everyone else and does the usual haywires. And then you do the mark off the checkboxes like the actual Pizza Sim game, and once finished, he can appear from your ceiling as opposed to charging at you, and that's when you shock him to win the battle. I don't know about you, but I personally think that would be really f***ing awesome. And for his workshop animation, he could be hanging from the top of the screen, or we could possibly even get a full body reference of him for the first ever time. That would be something, let me tell ya. Number 8, Endo02. Again, mostly same reasons as Funtime Foxy and Molten Freddy. If we have Endo01, I feel like we should get Endo02. Now granted, I don't personally know what I would do with Endo02 to make his mechanics original and unique, but I'd certainly make him just a tiny bit harder than Endo01. Maybe even give him a Mangle similar mechanic where you're finding his parts. The main reason I put him above Funtime Foxy and Molten Freddy is because Endo02 is somewhat of a forgotten character in FNaF. And I thought it would be really cool if you got more time to shine like Endo01 did in this game, which is something I will forever give Illumix credit and thank them for, no matter how good or bad FNaF AR is. Now for number 7. Coming at number 7 is the Nightmares. Yes, I know, I'm grouping a bunch of animatronics for one spot on the list, but these guys are menaces, and it'd be really cool if they got in. By the way, this does not include Plush Trap and the Jackos, since they're already in the game. Hell, this is a perfect opportunity to utilize the AR technology that was shown off with Shadow Bonnie that one time. Maybe Nightmare Freddy can come from under your bed, or Nightmare Bonnie's hiding behind your door. Maybe Nightmare Chica could throw the Nightmare Cupcake at you, and you need to shock it in time, and then eventually, she'll come out and you shock her. Maybe Nightmare Foxy's long tongue from that FNaF 4 teaser can return, and it will tie you up, and then you have a plush trap scenario where you need to charge generators, and when they are charged up, the tongue gets untied and you win. Maybe Nightmare Ion has a similar mechanic to his minigame in Help Wanted, and you need to clear his tentacles for an amount of time. Or maybe Nightmare BB can have a map like Plush Trap, and just so much opportunities, man. I think I'm gonna explode. Number 6, Scrap Baby. So Scrap Baby is another one I would love to see in the game. Now, you can just copy Molten Freddy's mechanic I listed for him and call it a work day and go get supper and booze. But if you really want to go the original route, here's a neat idea I have. The only thing required is that you know the context of the FNaF 6 ending. Let's go! You're surrounded by a little bit of fire, but you need the fire to grow, which basically, you need to burn Scrap Baby and yourself alive. You have 2 buttons, which are of course the thing you're using to light up the flames and the usual shock button. Now, when you're igniting the fumes, Scrap Baby can use her claw to kill you, which if you see it about to be in action, shock it before it gets too late. Now, once you've lit the area on fire completely, you would of course die in reality. But in the game, you have won the fight like any other fight in the game. It would be so cool and, dare I say, lit? Number 5, the Withereds. Yep, just like with the Nightmares, I'm grouping another set of animatronics together. Now, unlike the Nightmares, none of these guys are in the game yet, so I can group all 5 of them. Now, I personally, again, have no idea what you could do with these guys individually for mechanics, but maybe for Withered Bonnie, you would have to find his face or something like that. The main reason I have them at number 5 on the list is somewhat similar to the reason why Endo 2 is on the list. The amount of underappreciation these guys get in the fandom, and especially Funko, is undeserved, because these guys are really cool looking bastards. One of them has an extended jaw, and another's head can literally float. One of them even has no face. These guys are classics that need to shine. Coming at number 4 is Ennard. Haha, gotcha! You thought Ennard would be at number 1 since he's my favorite FNaF character, did ya? Well, actually, no. As much as I love Ennard and think he would be a great addition to the game, which you can see by the fact he's on this list and even in the top 5, but I personally think the next 3 characters on this list would be greater additions into the game for specific reasons. However though, Ennard would still make a great addition, I feel. Like I brought up in the How to Fix FNaF AR video, maybe the AR technology can be utilized with him just like the Nightmares, hiding behind like a shelf or something. Or maybe you can bring back the exotic butters and it will sort of play out like Mangle, where you have to find every single butter stick. But maybe to add a creepy twist to it, some of the exotic butter sticks have eyes on them, and like Ennard's body does. And if you collect any of the butter sticks with the eyes, you die. So what if you held the flashlight on the butter stick and then it goes back to the normal and you collect it? Of course, Ennard could have the haywire, but during the haywire, he has no mask, and it's his endo self. And then once you've collected all the exotic butters, Ennard will charge at you, but he has his mask on, and then you shock him and you win. And maybe in his workshop animation, he repeatedly takes on and off his mask to sometimes reveal himself. Sounds pretty neat to me. Now, there's the excuse that Ennard shouldn't be added if Molten Freddy were to get added due to lore reasons. But Circus Baby's in the game, and Circus Baby was obviously before Scrap Baby in the timeline, so what? Golden Freddy made it into the game and his soul was put to rest by the time this game supposedly takes place in the FNaF timeline. By the way, speaking of the FNaF lore and timelines, number 3, the puppet. Oh boy, the puppet. We got Springtrap, Baby, and Golden Freddy in the game. Let's cap off the FNaF lore character quadrilogy with him. Now, of course, with my number 2 pick, yes, take this as a hint, this entry could instantly become invalid, for lack of a better word, due to them being the same character in the story. But we're talking about FNaF AR and Illumix. They stopped caring about lore and common sense ever since they added Golden Freddy into the game, so There's so much you can do with the puppet. you can have her say some new voice lines. I know a lot of people in the FNAF community don't like the puppet's voice, but I personally do, so why the hell not? And for her mechanics, maybe you have to wind a music box for a certain amount of time, and you win. Or, here's another gameplay suggestion. I know that this might be pretty grim and too dark for FNAF, but how about the music box is playing, but you have to find dead kids around you? Of course you can make them the 8-bit versions with the white bodies and gray tears, and then maybe you give life to animatronic suits that are located next to the music box, and you have to do all of it before the music stops playing. I know this is an AR game and it's limited in some ways, but I personally think that'd be neat. Maybe you don't even need to stuff them into suits, and you can either just simply only need to collect them and you have given life, or you just put them in the music box. Grim, yes, but unique and fresh? Also yes. Number 2, Lefty. Yep, now the reason why I placed Lefty at number 2 is he's the second most anticipated character not yet in the game, along with the number 1 pick, which there's your hint. And this is the character who could possibly invalidate the puppet being added. But again, I think Illumix would just add anyone no matter the lore. So, Lefty is one of my personal favorite characters in the franchise, like a lot of the entries on this list. One of the things that makes him unique is his voice. Maybe again, new voice lines. As well, one mechanic idea for Lefty I had in the FNAF AR critique video was that if you heard Lefty's hushing sound effects from UCN, you had to stood still until you hear it stop. Now in general, that might sound less exciting. But since he's been teased for a year now to be added, surely Illumix has a better idea for him than I do. At least I hope. I don't want to give this company too much credit now. And coming at number 1 is Funtime Freddy. By far, the most anticipated character to be added into the game that's not even in it yet. And yet, is only just me being nice. And my personal number 1 pick on who I want added into FNAF AR. The possibilities for this lovable son of a bitch is almost endless. He's got Bonbon. He's got his great comedic, yet sometimes scary and crazy voice. He's got a lot to him. If he's going to be added, I wish that in his workshop animation, he can open up his faceplates, as well as go back and do the same for Baby and Ballora, and as well implement that to Ennard and Funtime Foxy if they get added someday too. Then in battle, of course Bonbon is going to be used. It's criminal if he isn't. Now, something that I'll suggest that I personally think is kind of clever, and that not a lot of you probably expected, was that maybe Bonnet can be somewhat implemented here too. Again, going off what I suggested in the critique video, Funtime Freddy can throw Bonbon at you, and then the kicker is that for Bonbon, you're supposed to use the mask when he comes at you. But then also, Funtime Freddy could also throw Bonnet, and if Bonnet comes at you, you shock her instead. I don't know about you, but I would have personally loved that gameplay mechanic. It requires reaction time, but hey, neato. And of course the cherry on top, new voice lines from Kellen possibly, I don't know. But what you can possibly do with this cuddly but murderous bear is a lot. And that's why in my personal opinion, Funtime Freddy, as well as Bonbon and Bonnet to an extent, are the characters that I want to be added into FNAF AR the most. So in conclusion, FNAF AR needs these characters I listed in my opinion. For one, characters like Funtime Freddy and Lefty have been teased for a long time now, and there has been no other sign by Illumix or in the game or just anything that they'll be coming anytime soon. And secondly, as much as I do like a lot of the game's skins, I really wish that there were more characters to help breathe more life into a game that's considered a joke in the community at this moment. And just, you know, it'd be cool to see. As Scott once said, this game was originally meant to be a fun party game, as he put it, and seeing a lot of these characters I put on this list would be more fun to not just me, but to a lot of players. Maybe Illumix will change regarding whatever the f they're doing with their game someday, and get back to the game's roots. As I have thought before, maybe once COVID's completely gone and a thing in the past, maybe Illumix will start trying to do more things with the game like characters. However though, like I've already pointed out, it's been half a year at this point since Golden Freddy, the last character to be added into the game as of the script being written, and I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel currently at this moment in time. But like I'll say for the millionth time, maybe in a little while, like a few months, as opposed to now, there will be a light at the end of the tunnel. Simple as.